Hour number 2 already right here on KBS Live on TFRlive.com. Lucky will be with you all after today's show finishes, so I insist you hang around for that. Now, at the top of the show, I teased you all with, hey, it's 2020, what more would you expect? So we've had some crazy stuff this year, right? We've had the lockdowns we've been talking about, but we've had the murder hornets, we've had all sorts of things going on that have led people to say, just 2020, bro. Just another day in 2020. Well, what if I was to tell you that in a remote area of Utah, no, I'm not going to talk about Skinwalker Ranch, but what if you were to know that a 10 to 12 foot metallic obelisk has been discovered and nobody knows what it's all about? No, it's not some opening scene for a new movie talking about where did we come from, where are we going, all that kind of jazz. No, it's not that. But I tell you, this is one of the weirder kind of things I've been sent in recent times. And a big shout out to the Gherkins in Poland. They sent this to me. And it says, DPS crew discovers mysterious monolith from the air in the remote Utah wilderness. Now, let's take a listen to this, and then I'll send a photograph over to the chat room at tfrlive.com.
In the middle of the southern Utah wilderness, it immediately caught the eye of state officers as they passed overhead.
It was an object so mysterious it compelled them to land. But what on earth is it? News specialist Andrew Adams is live tonight. Andrew?
Dave, at this point, it appears to be something of a mystery. I mean, these guys aren't exactly ancient astronaut theorists trying to figure it all out. They're just state workers trying to do a job. But they definitely found something that appears to be out of this world.
Captain's log, stardate 11/18/2020. The crew of the Utah DPS helicopter traveled to southern Utah on a mission to count bighorn life forms with wildlife officers.
And he's like, whoa, 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 turn around. And I was like, what? And he's like, there's this thing back there. We got to go look at it.
The crew had spotted an object of unknown origin on the red surface.
Okay, the intrepid explorers go down to investigate the alien life form.
In the middle of the barren desert stood a mysterious metal monolith.
I would say it's probably between 10 and 12 feet high.
That's just wild.
We're kind of joking around that if one of us suddenly disappears, then I guess the rest of us make a run for it. So
Pilot Brett Hutchings says it didn't look like it was dropped there. It was firmly planted into the ground.
we're like thinking, okay, is this something like NASA stuck up there or something? You know, are they bouncing satellites off it or something?
It seemed less scientific and more artistic.
I'm assuming it is, you know, some new wave artist or something, you know, or somebody that just is a big 2001 Space Odyssey fan.
The similarity to the space movie was unmistakable, as was the bizarre effect it had on observers.
It just was kind of unusual and stuff.
The universe is filled with the unexplained, and this journey to southern Utah only raised more questions. As the crew headed home, they only wished they had the answers.
Yeah, we've never...
Now let's pause it there, right, Ben? What on earth are we dealing with here, my friend? Your volume's gone again, brother. No, still, there he is. There he is.
How's that? Yeah.
There we go.
Kev, I've got absolutely no idea. This is the weirdest thing I've seen in ages. But this is, as I say, this is not weirdos going around. I mean, they said this they actually said this in the news story. It's not like your ancient alien believers. This is the Utah Department of Public Safety. They were just flying over the desert. They were counting sheep, so they had to stop themselves from falling asleep, no doubt. So it's a bit of a boring job. But then one of the biologists spotted it and just said, "What's that?" And they went down onto the ground and they found this thing, and it's in the middle of the desert. I mean, if you're not watching this, if you're just listening, it's literally it's metallic. It's silvery metallic. It's oblong, and they said it was like 12 feet, 10 to 12 feet high, and it's probably about like maybe 2 feet across. And it is. It's not just been left there; it has been planted in the ground. It's completely square edges. It's like it's a bit like the Space Odyssey monolith, all the monkeys dancing around it, except that's black and it's sort of more. It has a longer oblong profile. This has a much squarer plan rather. It has that with the 2001 one has a oblong plan, and it's silver. Until it's been analysed properly, or someone maybe gives details about how it got there. There's no way of knowing where it came from. But Kev, I can't think why someone would do it. I mean, in that news clip, they said, "Oh, it's some kind of new age artist or something." Well, if you're a new age artist, you want to create something
exactly.
that
People would have seen it. Yeah, you'd have seen this.
Where are you going to put
it?
it?
Exactly. I think this would have been unique enough to have stood out. People would have heard about this, dude.
Yeah, but I wouldn't put it somewhere where. See, it's quite unlikely that. It's quite lucky these people actually saw it, because it's in. If you look at it on the map where this is, it's a remote desert area, and the actual monolith itself is actually in a little. You can see it in the pictures. It's in a little kind of depression in a little valley, which means it's quite unlikely anyone will see it unless, like, say, you're flying over it in a helicopter. And even then, you're pretty lucky, Kev, to have spotted it. No one knows how long it could have been there a long time, and no one just spotted it until now. So, if it is the creation of some kind of artist, he or she is obviously an artist who doesn't mind going to a lot of effort to put something somewhere, and then nobody sees it.
You think
which
about
makes no
it,
sense.
This is Project Bluebeam. When you look into the actual documents, the alleged documents from the secret NASA kind of project, it has a phase in it early on that has like an archaeological discovery that causes people to really question history and religion as they know it. I'm telling you, dude, this is the start of it all, man. This is the start of it all.
Do you reckon it's...
I don't know, man, but this is really, it's weird. Like you said, this is super weird.
Very. I mean, I suppose what I'd like to see happen now is for some analysis to be done in it. Maybe they could check it for magnetic fields or pulses or things like that. Because in the film, the Kubrick film, the monolith they discover, this thing that the monkeys are all into, they're dancing around it. It turns out it actually transmits a radio signal. Now maybe this will do the same. In the 2001, it transmits it to the aliens. Maybe this one will transmit it to some aliens. I don't know. I mean, it's very weird. I mean, maybe people could check to see exactly what kind of material it's made of, because you see, I've just been watching Patient 17, which is a very interesting documentary by Jeremy Corbell, the guy who brought us the Bob Lazar movie. It's about alien implants, about a particular guy. It follows a particular man who has an implant, and they take it out of him and they analyze it, and they found it's made out of some material that couldn't possibly be made on Earth. Now, if that's just a tiny little sliver, it's a tiny little piece. Now, if they did the same, they checked this monolith to see what it's made of, just cut a little bit off and analyze it. You don't need much, just a little splinter, and just check it and see what it's made of. Because if it's just steel or something, it's probably something someone put together, you know. Maybe it's R.C. Christian, the man who made the Georgia Guidestones.
Alloy or something we've never detected before.
Like the guy, yeah, exactly like the guy in the film said. You know, most of these, if it had like maybe 5 to 7 different elements in it, you just say it's a normal metallic alloy that's made in a normal forge, like a splinter. But if it's got like 150 different elements, including arsenic and platinum and things like that, and it has isotope, that is the neutrons in the nucleus, which is different because to what you normally get on Earth, and it means it wasn't made on Earth. I mean, they actually say that these splinters that this guy had in this object this guy had in his body had to be made not only not on Earth but not in the solar system. They could tell because of what they call the isotopic ratio, which is the number of neutrons in the nucleus. So
what do you make of all that then, Ben? Speculation Island, man. Come on. I mean, I know it won't be just one program or one thing, but what does that tell you when you see this metal that it can't be from here?
Well, I honestly don't know. Are we talking about the monolith or the
no, the chip
implants?
in the sky?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I honestly think that's it's got to be something that comes from somewhere else, and I don't think it's man-made. I mean, Dr. Irina Scott, who I've spoken to, she's also been analysing these things at the Patel Memorial Institute, and indeed there's been classified government programs to look into some of this material that's been looking into. We know Bob Bigelow has been examining these things under a classified government program from 2007 onwards. So hopefully we'll get some proper answers soon, and at the same time maybe someone will come and have a look at this monolith. But the problem is they're not, the Department of Public Safety is not telling us where it is, because they don't want lots of people wandering into the desert to try and find it and not being able to get out again and wandering around in circles without any water to drink. So that's obviously that we're going to have to find out exactly where it is, but I bet you someone will find it. Someone will find it.
Ben, should we consider that it's in the same state as Skinwalker Ranch?
Well, I've been looking on the map. It's actually about 50 miles from Skinwalker Ranch, because it's actually the area they're talking about here. This is in the deserts of southern Utah. It's actually not a large area. Probably someone could find it. By American standards, it's actually like a little small area of maybe a couple of dozen square miles. But 50 miles north is Ballard, Utah, and near there is Skinwalker Ranch. There's the Uinta Basin. You remember the documentary that's talked about the strange landscape near there, and then there's Skinwalker Ranch in it. And I do wonder if there's a connection there. I do wonder if there's something about that area that attracts the weird and wonderful in that because 50 miles is not a long way by the standards of North America. Well, it's not much. It's not that far. So could there be some kind of connection? Could some of the strange phenomena that have been observed at Skinwalker Ranch during the various studies that have happened over the years somehow be connected to the presence of this monolith? Because we don't know how long that monolith's been there. It's possible it's been there for a very long time and people just haven't noticed it until now, these guys in the helicopter wouldn't have spotted it unless they flew directly over it, because it's down in this little basin with big cliffs around. You can't actually see it unless you're directly above it. So it's possible that the phenomena of Skinwalker Ranch is somehow connected. I would like to see somebody go to that monolith and examine it in more detail. And I bet you everyone's going to be looking for it now, and they're going to find it, Kev. They're going to find it. Somebody on our side of this debate is going to find it, and they're going to examine it, and it's going to be absolutely fascinating. But unless this is, you were saying this might be somehow connected to the fake alien invasion or something.
Well, they could, no, I was just having a laugh, but they could say that, like you say, maybe it is giving off a signal. Maybe they have detected some message on it, something like that, or they can play it as metal from another world.
Look how big it is.
It's huge, man.
I mean, it's like that's just that kind of thing. If you see, it's like two guys standing on top of it had to look over the top of it. That's going to be heavy. That's going to weigh a couple of tons. Obviously, it's not the sort of thing you could carry on your shoulder or in a backpack or something, or even on the back of a horse.
Hell no.
How did it get there? How did they must have dug a hole for it. Well, it's like solid rock by the look of things. How did they dig the hole and put it in and then fill it in again? I mean, how do they do it? I mean, obviously, no one person could do that, I would say, if it was humans who made that.
It's even in the Daily Mail. Is it aliens? Wildlife officials discover a mysterious 12-foot-tall metal monolith standing in the middle of the Utah desert that resembles the machines in Space Odyssey.
I saw this other news story as well, Kev. This was actually in a book. This was actually in the Chariots of the Gods by Eric von Daniken. It's actually the Iron Pillar of Delhi, it's called. Now, this is another thing. It's 23-foot high metallic pillar. It's actually circular in plan, and it has like a decorated top. And even though it's called the Iron Pillar of Delhi, it's actually not made of iron. It doesn't rust, which is very, very strange. Von Daniken was talking in the, excuse me.
Looks like a big tuning fork, man. That's what that looks like.
He was saying in this book that they can't actually identify the metal it's made of. It has some inscriptions on it, but that could just be graffiti. Nobody actually knows, but we know it's at least 1,800 years old. It's very old indeed, and it's not rusted. And so Von Daniken is claiming this might be extraterrestrial in origin. There's been several other weird artifacts found around the world. For example, there's a very interesting photograph of which I can't find. I've been looking for it.
I mean, I'm still looking at this one in Utah, but this is like actually, it's like how they found this is miraculous. It's literally like a little crack, like a canyon just in the ground, and then there's another picture that Ben was kind of describing earlier on where it's literally tucked away in the most obscure corner you can get.
It's not a work of art. Works of art, you put them in galleries. You put them in places.
I bet the sun rises along that pathway, Ben.
Now, this is something that needs to be identified. This is something that needs to be investigated. I'd love to see. I mean, obviously, I can't get there. I can't get all the way to Utah. But if anyone lives close to that and you're sort of like listening to this show and you're interested in these sort of things, check it out. I mean, obviously, be careful when you're doing it. Take plenty of water with you and things like that. Take a compass and map.
We've got a listener called Felicia. She's been on the show talking woo with me before. I know she's not far from Skinwalker Ranch. Now, I'm not suggesting you go out there into the desert, but if you hypothetically were to, we would definitely stream it live. Go for it, Felicia.
Oh, please, yeah. And go with a group of people, obviously, because, like, you know, you never know. They may put some kind of they might put some kind of tripwire or something around it.
Yeah,
who
there'll
knows
be
what
Navy
they'll do.
SEALs there. There'll be probably all sorts. It'll be like that movie, what's the one, Close Encounters, where they're up on the Devil's Rock. Isn't that the one?
Yeah, and they have like the sleeping gas and things like that to try and keep people away. So yeah, be careful, go with caution. But this is something worth investigating. It's I don't think it's a work of art. Someone's gone to an awful lot. If it was, it's possible that humans could make this, depending on what it's made of. If it's made of this thing, same thing as the thing in Delhi. If, like, in other words, a piece of metal, or like the implants in patient 17. If they actually find that out, then you can't say it's some new age artist, can they? They can't. I mean,
this is all over the world media. That's the Guardian as well. And helicopter pilot finds strange monolith in remote part of Utah. I'm telling you, it's going to start like giving us a message, dude.
I'm itching to write an article about this actually on her Panwo Voice, because I really want to cover this now myself and put my own thoughts into it, because, well, I'm already doing that now with you, Kev, but, you know, it's really I think
now it says here some observers compared the monolith to the plank sculptures by artist John McCracken. How synchronistic. Release the McCracken, who lived in New Mexico and New York until his unfortunate death in 2011. McCracken's gallerist David Zwerner did not immediately respond to a request for comment. It doesn't feel like art to me.
The gallerist. Now, is a gallerist someone who, like, puts works of art up on display in galleries?
I would imagine so.
Because how is this putting his work on display? Putting it in the middle of a desert where people hardly ever go, and no one's going to see it unless they're flying over from a helicopter, which will probably happen only once in a blue moon.
Look at this as well. Isn't it interesting that directly behind it, there's almost like a vertical crack right up the stones?
I can see a kind of Indiana Jones style plot coming here.
Yeah, that doorway is going to open, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be a grinding noise, and the stones are going to slide apart. Yeah. And there's going to be some kind of gold statue in there. I do wonder. I mean, but obviously, if this John McCracken obviously is not, if he made this, why didn't he tell anyone about it? Why did he go to such effort? And obviously, he had to get lots of people involved to carry it and move it and set erect.
2020, man. This simulation, the update that it's going through right now. If nothing else, it's interesting, right?
We shouldn't be surprised.
No, we shouldn't. No.
Nothing that happens this year will surprise me now. There's still another month to go.
Now, I tell you what, I'm getting excited because I had put First Contact on my my bingo list for 2020. And if this does start emanating some alien gobbledygook, I tell you, man, I might have had a hit. We'll see. We'll keep our eye on it.
Yeah, well, you could put bets on Alien Contact. I got 200 to, I think I didn't put the bet on, but they were offering 201, I think, at Ladbrokes or somewhere. Oh, it may be worth taking a bet out before the odds go down.
Talking aliens, you lucky man. Did I see you had done a stream with Steve Bassett?
It was a recording, but yeah, I did. I managed to interview Steve Bassett again, which was great.
How did that go, man? Well, come on, give us the highlights.
Well, he's very interesting because he is now he he really feels hopeful that there'll be a complete full disclosure sometime early next year. Now, with Steve, he tends to always think it's going to be just a few months in the future, whenever it is, and he's eternally hopeful that will be the case. And honestly, I'd love him to be right. I really would love him to be right. And he is right about some things. For example, he says we've crossed a Rubicon, meaning we've crossed a point where we can't go back in terms of the TTSA and ATIP stuff. I mean, that can't now be put back in the can.
Oh yeah,
they can't
something's changed.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Whatever kind of cover up they institute now, they can't say, well, it's just a weather balloon anymore. That trick won't work anymore. So Steve believes that he's quite likely there'll be hearings early next year, and I obviously I hope he's right. I'm doubtful, however. If this Monolith thing turns out to be made of the same stuff that the implants are, and it's all published, and all Bob Bigelow stuff comes out, all the stuff from Bob Bigelow, and all the stuff Dr. Irina Scott has been doing, all this material is published at the same time, it's maybe the point where you will have some kind of hearing. I mean, I hope so. I really do.
Season 2 of Skinwalker did promise to try and establish first contact with an alien.
Well, that's another thing. What I'm surprised is there's so many different TV shows and documentaries coming out in a moment, Kev, about this. We've got like Capel Green, which is still in the pipeline. It's still working out. I mean, the director's just put up a Facebook post about that. It's in the pipeline still. It is an active project. The Phenomenon's just come up. There's the Aerial Phenomenon as well. There's Patient 17. There's the Bob Lazar movie. There's all that series by Jeremy Corbell. There's the Skinwalker TV series, which you talked about before. There's so much coming out about all kinds of UFO related subjects that it feels like there's something in the air. It's like it's becoming, I wouldn't say cool, but it's no longer, people aren't laughing as much as they used to.
It's like we talk about the Great Reset, but there's a more optimistic way to look at it, a more optimistic flavor to it all. Not to say it's going to be good, but this space age type update to the simulation, as I refer to it, the explosion in some of the good technology, some of the UFO info that we never thought we would ever hear them talking about, that's kind of stuff that kind of excites me, dude.
It really does. I mean, if you told me like a few years ago that a time would come and everything has actually happened, if you told me like 3 or 4 years ago this is going to happen, Ben, in a couple of years, I'd have said, nah, that's too good to be true.
Yeah.
But it has happened. So maybe I don't want to get greedy and just
it's like boiling frogs. So maybe we're not excited as we should because we're watching it happening all around us, and maybe we're not giving it the significance, even though me and you do see that it's a significant change, but it's profound, isn't it?
Well, this is what Richard Dolan was complaining about. He seems to think that this has not sort of like dropped with the kind of splash that he expects it. Now, there's several reasons for this, and in fact, Richard Dolan, I think, is being a bit overly pessimistic. He did a great debate with Bryce Zabel, his co-author of AD After Disclosure, and Zabel was explaining that the media is just simply holding its breath for the next kind of thing that's coming out. And at the same time, we got UFO Jesus, Ryan, the Post-Disclosure World guy who does YouTube videos. He says he's heard from James Fox, who did The Phenomenon, that there's going to be a big news story soon. What's happened, I think, Kev, is just a little bit of cultural inertia. We've had, ever since 1947, we had official ridicule and denial. That is a mindset that's been put into multiple generations of people of cultures throughout the world. This cannot be turned around in one go. It takes time to slow down, stop, reverse. And so I think we may be in that position now where the facts are coming out and people are kind of like looking at them and shrugging their shoulders because they don't know what to make of them. And no one's going to turn into, you can't expect, the general population will not turn into people like us overnight. We're just kind of like we're the front of the snowplow. But others will follow. And I think with more and more people, it's kind of like, what's the word? I'm not saying it's fashionable, but it's become acceptable to say these sorts of things. Hopefully that won't be too long. I mean, who knows? If you hit the 100th monkey point, things can happen very quickly. And something might happen which we can't predict. In fact, I don't think I can predict anything of what might happen. All I can do is hope.
You think about the increased travel into space with the Artemis Accord, with more and more talk of people going back to the moon. The possibility of commercializing asteroids, mining them. The more people that start to go up there, I think the easier, again, it'll be for them to start to have reports of things that they're seeing and really open our eyes to some of the stuff that's going on that way. Next few years, again, if we were to really put out there tonight what will it be like in 3 years, Ben, we'd probably both laugh and go, nah, never. But maybe we should wait and see.
Absolutely. Well, if 3 years ago, if you told me everything that's come to pass actually happened, and you told me that 3 years ago, there's no way I would ever have guessed it. There's no way I would have predicted it. Everything that's happened in the last 5 years have been completely against my predictions. I think all bets are off at the moment, I reckon.
Big time, big night. Now, Ben, let people know where they can follow your work, brother. You've got a really slick, new-looking website. Let people know the link, man.
I have. It's Panwell, Hospital Porters Against the New World Order, HPANWO, and it's a blogspot website. There's like several. That's what you're looking at now is actually not my slick website. That's simply my relay, because what I do is that's a Panwell Extra. What's happened is my original web pages have been banned from Facebook.
Oh.
Literally. So what I do is I post them onto this WordPress site, and all, if you look at that, all you'll see is links. There's nothing else on that particular site than links.
Banned from Facebook. I know that feeling very well. You're listening to Dave Baker. I'll be back on the other side with Ben. Don't go anywhere.